Well, and you talked a little bit about the climate and how, as you move through basically Sonoma County and specifically through the Russian River, the temperatures change, and the temperatures change dramatically in a lot of variances and a lot of aspects. And Brian, most folks obviously recognize that Russian River Valley is Pinot Noir and Chardonnay country, but it would be a misnomer to think that that's the only thing that grows there. Walk us through kind of the UC Davis neighborhood discussion.
Yeah, the Russian River is massive from a acreage standpoint, and it has just a huge, wide variety of climates. And I'm just going to pull up a map. So over the last many years, there's been sort of this neighborhood idea that's been coming about to further dissect the Russian River Valley, which is intended to give consumers more information about what they're buying. So this is kind of an overview map of the neighborhoods that are being discussed. UC Davis did a study back in 2018, I think it was, coincidentally using all Pinot Noir to evaluate chemically the grapes coming out of each of these neighborhoods, and they were able to identify patterns in the grapes coming from each area. So there is legitimate scientific proof that there are distinguishing characteristics from each of these places. Nobody from a marketing standpoint wants to give up Russian River Valley. It's gold from that perspective. But again, this is a little better way to help people understand, what that fruit might taste like, because a Freestone Pinot tastes, in our opinion, dramatically different than a Middle Reach Pinot. The Middle Reach is at the north end of the area. It's, on the cusp of Alexander Valley and Chalk Hill and Dry Creek. That actually is sort of the impetus for our name Crux. We're in the crossroads of all those places, and where we grow our grapes have characteristics of all of those places. Just because we draw a boundary around it doesn't mean there's a hard transition there. So it's this confluence of all those growing areas. So we still enjoy the influences of the river that the Russian River is famous for. It's just that we have less fog. We have a few more, degree days than some of the folks who are down in the Laguna Ridge or the Santa Rosa Plains, and certainly on the west end of the Russian River, like Freestone and Green Valley.
Interesting. So as you move from Sebastopol up to Middle Reach, it's getting warmer or cooler?
It's getting warmer.
Okay.
Yeah. So our winery is actually in Alexander Valley. So it's about a quick 10-minute drive up 101. And, Steve and I leave here in the morning in Windsor where it's foggy. And as we're driving through Healdsburg, it disappears and the sun is out. So it's just a, kind of an example of how that river impacts where we are. This is a picture I took on my way up to Healdsburg. This was one November morning, and I'm on Old Redwood Highway, just south of Healdsburg. And this is the fog is encapsulating the river. It runs right along there, so you can see it's driving, its own weather, and it's not atypical to see this. And in the summer months, the fog expands much more in the early morning hours. But it comes up and back from the sea via the Russian River. So again, our area in the Middle Reach is the last to get the fog and the first to have it burn off. So that just creates the characteristics that we're, enjoying with our growth of our Rhône varietals.
Fascinating. And I think the fog is super cool from an aspect of its influence to produce its own microclimates. And one of the things I want to kind of show, because we zoomed in on the Russian River there in specific to its own AVA, but here you can actually see the Russian River in totality. And what Steve and Brian are talking about is, while the winery is just north of Healdsburg, really on Alexander Valley, you can see that they have access to an exposure from Dry Creek, Alexander Valley, Chalk Hill, and Russian River, which is hence the name Crux. But the Russian River Valley, and we're going to look on this on everybody's favorite Google Earth, it takes a dramatic turn and actually starts heading south. It turns back north, and you'll see some of the rock formations here. But what I find fascinating is over the hundreds of thousands, if not millions of years, all these soil deposits and all the alluvial fans and just that have been spread out across the whole valley floor through years of flooding and receding and flooding and receding. But then it takes an abrupt, sharp turn and heads out all the way to the coast. And you'll see a giant rock structure and formidable uplift of mountains here that cause that. But really, that this is its own weather system creator, own microclimate creator, because there's some rapids in here, and the fog, like you said, Brian, gets sucked in from the ocean, goes up the river, and then comes back down in the later afternoon. I mean, it's fascinating. And that picture you took is mesmerizing. I can't believe you're just driving by on the road and go, oh, hang on a second, I'm snapping a picture of that. That's very cool.